Hi, my name is Iz, and my thesis is titled The Shadowed Home, and it's a study of the paranoia that I feel in my childhood home. This is a trailer video. So then this is a photo series that has been the backbone for my project. So with each look is kind of a different theme under the umbrella of paranoia. And so I've been kind of creating these individual shoots per look so that I can bring my fears into reality and kind of add just another visual element to help the viewer better understand the story. This is the lineup, so there's 6 looks, and I am first and foremost a fine artist and a sculptor, so for this collection I really wanted to combine those two passions of, working with my hands and creating, 3D shapes, and then combine it with my fashion design. So for this collection, it is very sculptural, and not only is the silhouettes exaggerated, but also the material choices are very kind of exaggerated and not the typical that you would see in ready-to-wear. So that being said, this is not ready-to-wear. It is event wear and costume, but this is not to be worn every day. I mean, you can if you want, but it's kind of a little bit more extravagant than that. So along with kind of every look having a different theme, it also has like a sentence or two that I've kind of paired with it where I'm describing those fears, and those sentences are from a journal that I've been keeping. So I've been home since the spring, and this kind of paranoia and delusions come in waves, and so when they do come, I just write it down in the notebook, and then like I said, I've kind of assigned those specific sentences to each look. So for the first look, we have my bed needs to be in the corner of my room so that I can turn over easy at night, knowing nothing will reach up and grab me. So here is just the photo shoot that I did. And then, this is just kind of mood board looking at various artists and sculptors and movies, etc., kind of as inspiration. And then since the beginning of, Thesis, I've been working with plaster to create different body parts. And so for this look, we do see that plaster coming into play with the headpiece because there's a plaster hand as well as a plaster mask. But for this look, the idea is that, you've gotten out of bed because you've had, some sort of fright, and then you look down and your bed sheets are still kind of clinging onto you and they're almost strangling you. And then there's also this kind of green gooey substance that's been dripped all over you. So this look is supposed to be actually from used bed sheets. And like I said, there's also the headpiece that goes along with it. So this is a look that I am currently working on. So here are fitting photos, and then this is the making process. So I got the seaweed, boiled it, put the fabric in it, and then these were some of the outcomes of it. So this exploration I actually did in the summer, and it was quite fun, and I live right by the water, and I have a very close connection with it. So this is really fun to just experiment with and try different things. So over here at the bottom was the bright green seaweed, and then these 3 were sand. So I was like crushing shells and creating my own kind of sand. These 2 were darker seaweeds. This was a tie-dye that I did with the seaweed. And this here was actually jellyfish, which was quite interesting. But I love kind of like the gooey, the color hasn't really sunk into the fabric. It's just on top of it. And I really like the outcome from that. So that's why I incorporate it into my thesis. Next we have I'm scared of murky water pooling at my feet. I'm scared of reaching my fingers into the drain and pulling out the clumpy mess of hair and who knows what else. Here I am in the murky waters. And so for this, I was just kind of taking various photos to kind of capture this kind of unease, and then also having my own experiments. And again, looking at various movies to kind of get inspiration. So under this kind of category of the murky and the hair, we have 2 looks. So this is the first look. We have a pair of hair trousers, and then we also have this top, which is again like a reference to the bed and comfort. And so it's supposed to be quilted, but instead of batting on the inside, there's insulating foam that's kind of dripping out, oozing out of different parts of it and from the bottom. And so there's kind of 2 running themes that are going along with my thesis. So one is this duality of comfort and then like the obscure. So what's supposed to be something of comfort, like your bed and bed sheets and quilts, actually have this kind of weird element to them in this collection. And then the second theme is this idea of deception. So you see it from far away and you think it's one thing, and then when you get close, you realize it's something else that you weren't expecting. And then this is the making process. So here I just quilted the fabric, and then instead of batting, I put the hardened pieces of insulating foam in the inside, and then I had the wet insulating foam kind of dripping out. This is the second look. So again, from like afar, it might look like stripes, but then with the closer look, it's actually hair. And then we're also seeing the plaster come back with this necklace that I'm going to be making. Here's the making process. So I gridded out the fabric and then measured and cut the hair, and then used Mod Podge to tack it down, and then used scissors to kind of just trim it up, and then put liquid latex on top to, seal it, and so that it wouldn't snag on anything. Next we have I'm scared of the shadows that emerge in the dark. So here I was just, again, looking at various artists, and then also just experimenting with this idea of kind of having objects under the fabric so that the fabric is kind of warping itself around them, and the objects are kind of showing through. So for this look, we have the balloon harness, and then we have a stretch fabric that's kind of being stretched around the harness. Normally, when you would wear a knit or a stretch material, it would show off the contours of your body. But then for this, it's kind of showing off the silhouettes of the balloons. And so the wearer almost looks like they're a mutant, or, there's something underneath the garment that's kind of bulging out. And so this is a fitting that I did. And so I did kind of 2 different processes. This was just putting the resin directly on the balloon, and then this one was paper macheing the balloon and then putting resin on top of it. And you can see this in these videos. These were taken from my Instagram, which is linked below. But here I'm just painting the resin directly on the balloon and kind of doing it in layers. And then here I'm paper macheing. And if you don't know, that's just newspaper and then a flour and water mixture. And you just put it directly on the balloon. And then so after this, I resined it on top once that was dried. And neither of the balloons I popped, so they maintain their shape better. Next we have I'm scared of the tapping of the walls, the chugging of the pipes, and the screeches and groans from the wooden floors. My nightly delusions strangle me into a mental and physical paralysis. So here with this, I had initially worked with having the garments actually make sounds based on like what I made the textiles out of. And I ended up kind of leaving that idea behind. But with those explorations, I had been working with tubes, and I really liked kind of those outcomes. So I incorporated it into this look. And so this is a jacket, and these tubes are kind of like crawling over the wearer and encasing the wearer. And then underneath is a jumpsuit, which is again this kind of reference to being strangled. And so with that, the fabric is being pulled in all these different directions. And, I just want to note that, strangling is a very intense thing. And it's kind of more, in this collection, it's physically, like the fit of things aren't necessarily correct. They're a little bit harder to wear. That is an element that's kind of being incorporated into this, which is very physical. But at the same time, it's kind of like this, emotional idea that, I come here and then I feel like, I don't, when you're supposed to be in this place of comfort, you're supposed to feel free and at ease, and yet I'm kind of being strangled because there's these emotions that are kind of always present, shadows that are always present. So here's the making process. So I measured and cut out the tubes and then covered them in fabric and then stitched them together. And then finally we have I'm scared of looking out the window at night for fear of who or what I might see staring back at me. So for this, again, this idea of deceit and, I really wanted to incorporate glass into this, but it ended up being a little bit too dangerous and literal. So I've been working with mock glass. And so for this look, we have the mock glass top with then the shoulders and shorts being this headliner foam, which is really cool because you can form it into these really voluminous shapes. So I really like that. And then this is the making process. So I covered the dress form in plastic and then put chiffon on top and then dripped the resin on top of that. And this took about like 3 to 4 coats. And then here I'm cutting it off the dress form. This was just like a swatch, so I didn't have to be super careful. Like this isn't the final thing, but it was just kind of practice. And then here I'm just shaping it and trimming it. And that's everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you want to leave any comments, I don't think you can leave any comments on my website, but if you go to my Instagram, you can do that there. Thank you.